Hi, and welcome to the Rags to Riches show with myself, Terry Blackburn. Now, today's guest is a really interesting guy. Actually, just first got talking on LinkedIn. He is an entrepreneur. He's a property investor. He owns multiple businesses. He's an author of a couple of books. He has a really creative way of acquiring properties. He's featured in the Sunday Times, Sky News, BBC. And I think it's just a really interesting story that a lot of people will take something from. He's quite different in the way he approaches quite a few different things, so I'm sure you'll enjoy that. So welcome to the show, Laurence. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Terry, and you?
Good. Yes, I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. Thank you for coming on today. If you're watching on YouTube, it's the first time I ever wore a hoodie, and he's got a suit on. So apologies for that. I don't normally wear a hoodie. It's freezing where I am. That's why. So apologies.
I don't normally wear suits, so if this is
you've dressed up, I've dressed down. But no, thank you for coming on, Laurence. I appreciate your time today. So what we like to do, Laurence, on the show is talk about your career and your life so far, and we'll extract as many lessons and learnings from your story as we can to hopefully motivate and inspire other people along the way. So the three parts of your life, if you partitioned it up into three, would be the start, as in just how you got into property, first of all. The middle part will be the exciting part, the growth part, any career highlights and any key learnings and advice from that middle part of your career. And then the current is what your attention is on now, what you're looking at going forward, and what your sort of attention is on at the moment. So could you first of all tell us a little bit about how you got into property, please, Laurence?
Yeah, cool. So hi, everyone. My name is Laurence Lameche. I'm an Amazon #1 bestselling author of a real estate book called How I Bought 3 London Properties for a Football Ticket. It's a true story, exactly how I did that 10 years ago. And I don't believe that it's ever been done anywhere else in the world. And basically, just to give you a little bit more background about me, I come from a single parent family where my mother raised me, and my mum and dad divorced when I was 5 years old. I never saw my father again. I failed school. Terry, I didn't get any qualifications. I could barely read and write. And I moved to London and slept in my car in 1998 because I didn't have any money or a job. You know.
Sorry to jump in there. How old were you at this point?
I was 20. I just turned 20.
And you moved from where to London?
I moved from East Anglia.
Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
Wow. Because I thought the streets of London are paved with gold. And I needed to move here, even though I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money to pay the rent. And I thought, let me sleep in my car because I've got that. And it was in the winter. It was very, very cold. And I even had police come and knock on my door and say, excuse me, so what are you doing? I'm trying to sleep, officer. Is there a problem?
Wow.
Step out. Have you been drinking? No, I don't drink. I'm just trying to sleep. Well, don't you have anywhere to sleep, or don't you have a home? No, this is my home until I can find somewhere. So back then I would used to kind of get, I think, the Loot newspaper and just go to payphone boxes and call to get job interviews before my money ran out. So I kind of learned how to do it really quickly, didn't have a mobile phone. And that's basically how I got started. In London, and just got part-time jobs, and then I used to get sacked quite a lot. I was not any good, and so they would just get rid of me. And I just wasn't very good, I think, as an employee. And I thought, what can I do for fun? So I thought, let me be a tour guide on the open top buses. Let me overcome my greatest fear, which is public speaking. Let me have the confidence to go up and speak to people from all over the world and show them the greatest city in the world, which is London, in my opinion. And it was so exciting every single day, going past all the different monuments and the sites of London and Buckingham Palace and Westminster Abbey and the Tower of London. And I would be so excited, so enthusiastic about the tour. It was just magical every single day, and to see the look on people's faces, wow, and to think this may be their only time in London. Let me give them the greatest tour of their lives. And I kind of then thought, well, do I want to be a tour guide for the rest of my life, earning really peanuts and nothing? And how can I get on the property ladder in London when the properties are so expensive and they're multi-million-pound properties? How can I do that? And so I kind of started to visualize, and I started to kind of think to myself, I want to meet someone on my tour who will give me a job to live and work in America. So every day that I went to work, I kind of started visualizing that I'd meet someone that would give me a job to live and work in America. And all the other tour guides, Terry, they thought I was crazy. They was like, "Whoa, Laurence, I've been working here 10, 20 years. That's never happened to me." And I'm thinking, yeah, but that's you. That's not me. I'm going to manifest and attract that into my life. And on a cold February morning, in 2001, I met a guy who was from Florida, and he, within 5 minutes, offered me a job to live and work in Florida and to travel up and down America. And that's exactly what I did. And then I kind of like came back to London and thought to myself, what can I find in America? Because I see America as a land of opportunity. We see so many great movies where we think, wow, this is awesome. So I thought of an idea to kind of bring back into London in the nightclub industry. And that's what I started as my first business. I don't go to the nightclubs. I don't drink, smoke. I don't even like
Have you never drunk? Has that never been you?
No.
Never drunk.
I don't even like listening to the music there, because I love the Beatles, Michael Jackson, the 80s, 60s, 70s, and they don't play that in London nightclubs. So, but it was just a business that I had, and that's kind of how I started. And I guess property, that I got into it ever since I was a little child. I used to love playing Monopoly. You know, I'd always win.
Yeah, me too.
You know, no one wanted to play. So it was just such an exciting game, and seeing the streets of London and thinking, wow, maybe, just maybe one day I could own, you know, some properties here. And that's kind of how I got started.
Wow. So it means a brave move to first of all go to London by yourself with no money, living in a car. That tells us a lot about your character. And I think a lot of the people that I know and I've interviewed so far, like, they do seem to have this risk-taking ability. Entrepreneurs do have this little risk-taking side to them, don't they? Which I think you clearly got by making a bold move like that. So how did it then go? You mentioned the name of your book, how you bought 3 properties for a football ticket. Is that right? So could you explain that? Obviously, I know there's a whole book about it, but a short version of how you acquired 3 properties for a football ticket. Could you explain that? Because I think that's quite interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I bought my first property in central London in 2004 with a mortgage, with a deposit. It took me 4 years to save up for another investment property near to King's Cross Station, with a mortgage, with a deposit in 2008. And then the recession happened. And then I couldn't get another mortgage. I didn't have any other more deposit money to use. And I had bad credit. And I thought, you know, and then that property that I kind of bought, it went up in value by £110,000 in 3 months, because I refurbished it with a builder and put a new kitchen, new bathroom in. Even my own mother went to the property, and she made me feel like, you know, the pantomime Jack and the Beanstalk. She made me feel like Jack, who went to the market to buy 3 beans. She was like, "What have you done with your money? You've wasted it. I can't believe you bought this place. This is terrible. It's so disgusting. I can't even use the toilet. My mother wanted to use a public toilet in London than the property toilet. That's how bad it was."
Bad it was, Jesus.
But then when she saw it, when it was transformed, she said, "Oh, you know, now I can see why you did that. And sorry, you know, and wow, you had vision that maybe I didn't. And can you teach me how to do this?" So basically, when I ran out of money, the recession happened. That went up by so much in 3 months. And I thought, you know what? I shouldn't be limited to thinking that I need to go to the bank to get on the property ladder. I'm sure there's a better way of doing it. So I started researching no money down deals. I started to read books from America. This was mostly taught in America, finding mentors that could teach me how to do this, but in England. And this was back in, you know, as I said, 2008, 2009, 2010. I started learning about it. But when I first heard about this, Terry, I thought, it sounds too good to be true. How can you possibly buy a property for £1 or $1 without a mortgage or a deposit? I mean, come on, you know, I've heard a lot of things, but it just doesn't sound real. So I ignored it. I didn't listen. But the more I started to research about it, the more I started to learn, I thought, you know what? I think this is the real deal. This is a game changer. So if you're a tenant and you're listening and you're sick and tired of paying landlords money, rent money, which was me many years ago, and you're not building your own wealth, and it's never going to be your own property, and every year they're probably going to increase the rent, it's really painful. But there is a way for you on how to kind of get on the property ladder doing no money down deals. So basically, I came across this deal. I thought he had 1 property. So I would just kind of call different property owners and practice. And I'm actually quite a shy guy. And I had to kind of almost get out my own way to make the call. I was too scared to make the telephone calls to property owners when I started to begin. And I thought, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't really know what I'm going to say. You know, I'm just learning this myself. So I don't really want to mess it up in London. So what I started to do was to call other parts of England, like Manchester and Liverpool and Birmingham and different areas where then I didn't have the fear. It's okay if they said no to me, because I wasn't really interested in buying in those locations. I just wanted to buy in London. And after a while, people started to say yes to me. So then I started to work in London on getting these deals. And so basically I talked to this guy one time and said, look, see your property advertised for sale. Yeah. Is it still available? Yeah. Could you tell me a bit more about it, please? So I would have a script I would use, and he would kind of tell me about the property. He said, oh, I've actually got 3 that are available. And I said, okay, and how much do you want for them? So he gave me a price. At the time, he wanted £190,000 for 1-bed flats, so 2 1-bed flats. But when I did some research, I figured out they're only really worth about 150,000. So he wanted £40,000 more than what they're truly worth. He also had a 2-bedroom flat that he wanted £230,000. But at the time in 2011, it was only worth around £200,000. So I said this to him. I said, you do realize you want way over and above what your properties are worth. Why is that? And he said, oh, well, they're in negative equity. And I said, how long have you tried to sell them for? A year. And I said, have you had any luck? Well, no, people keep making me low offers, and that's what I want. So I'm looking for a cash-rich investor to buy them. And I said, but you do realize that a cash-rich investor will want a discount. They're not going to want to sell or will buy, I should say. They're not going to want
above market value, yeah.
Above market. Yeah, hey, I'm cash rich. Let me pay you more than what you want. No one's going to do that. And he said, yeah, no, that's been the problem. And I said, however, I know one person that can pay you that and give you that. And he's like, wow, who can you give me their number? And I said, I can pay you exactly what you want. The trouble is I can't give you the money right now, because I need to wait for the market to go up. But what I can do in the meantime is I can babysit your mortgage payments every single month without fail. So the tenant will pay me the rent money, and I'll use that rent money to pay your mortgage. If the boiler breaks down, if the tenant doesn't pay, if anything needs doing to the properties, that's my problem, and I'll pay for that. And he's like, yeah, well, I kind of want to just sell them. So he said no. So I called him back the next month. How are you getting on? Yeah, well, no real offers. Then I called him the 3rd month. How are you getting on? Yeah, nothing yet, Laurence, but I'm still waiting. Anyway, this went on for 6 months. On the 6th month, I called him and said, hey, how you doing? Like anything, we chat. How was your weekend? And he's like, oh, it's terrible. And when someone says that to you, I'm kind of like thinking, do I want to ask him why? So I thought something major happened, maybe with his family. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. What happened? And he said, oh, Arsenal lost. And I said, oh, no, that is terrible. And I said, are you a big fan? And he said, yeah, you're a big fan. And that was the time that they kind of recently moved into the Emirates Stadium back then. And I said, have you been to the Emirates? No, I went to see them at Highbury play. And my dream is to see them play again. I'd love to see them play. And I said, you know what? I have a season ticket sitting next to the director's box at Arsenal. If you want, and we agree this deal, as I said, I'll give you the full asking price that you want today. It's just I can't pay you until 15 years time. So I agreed. 15 years. I said, I will pay you all that money in 15 years time. In the meantime, I'll just babysit your mortgage payments. The tenant will pay me. I'll use that rent money to pay your mortgage. And if they don't pay, that's my problem. And you can just walk away. And I said, why also do you want to do this? And he said, well, Laurence, I was a single guy when I bought them. Now I'm married. I've got 3 kids. I just don't want to be a landlord anymore. I don't want to be a property. I'm tired of properties. I just don't want it. I don't need the hassle in my life. So I said, if you want, I'll give you a ticket to the game of your choice. And he's like, that's fantastic. Where do I sign? And so that's how I bought 3 London properties for a football ticket.
I've heard of lease options and things like that before, and exchange with delayed completion and all this type of stuff. I've never heard 15 years. I've heard 3 to 5 years they'll agree a price in the future, but not 15. Fair play.
Yeah, I mean, at first maybe he didn't want to go for it because a lot of people think it's too far in advance in the future. They can't almost imagine, okay, I'm going to be 15 years old. And so, yeah, a lot of people do it. I've heard that for 3 to 5 years. I tend to do my lease option deals in London for 10 to 15 years. And that's what I've done for many years now.
Yeah. And do you still do lease options now? Do you regularly do these type of deals?
Yeah, I do, and I'm helping people as well do that. It's so exciting. And then because of the success of my book, it's an Amazon bestseller. It's won 8 awards around the world. I'm very proud of that. People have reached out to me over the last 5 years, Terry, and said, look, this works for you in England, but can I do this in my country? So I'm now helping students in America, in Canada, in Mexico, Mauritius, Bali, Malaysia, Australia, the UK, to name just a few. And it's working for them. And it's just so amazing. And one of my students earlier on this year, called Karen, she just read the book December last year. She contacted me and said, please, 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 can you help me? I'm an unemployed actor living at home with my parents in Ireland, and I'm on benefits. And I used to rent all my life in London. I'm in my 30s and I just don't want to rent anymore. Your book is so inspiring, but can you please help me buy my own property in London as you've done for yourself? And I said, sure, Karen. And so what I took is that because of the pandemic and everyone's kind of forced to be at home and can't go into work and you can't go out and meet people. So you're learning online now. So I wanted to create something that I don't believe has ever been done before, where just like we're on Zoom now, right? We're on a video call. So this is what I did. I chose 4 students and I spent 1 hour a week with them for 12 weeks. And I literally coached them live in real time on how to find deals in their area. So I helped Karen find her dream home in the first week. She found it in London, an £825,000 1-bedroom apartment in Notting Hill. And she moved in there in June this year. And we recorded it live every step of the way.
Fair play, fair play. And you bought on a lease option?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, fair. So just out of curiosity, because I mean, I must admit, I've never done a lease option. All mine I've purchased the standard conventional way, 25% deposit, rest mortgage from the bank. Spoke to somebody actually that a couple of episodes ago. It's coming out soon. It does a lot of lease options similar to yourself. But what it made us think, what other types of people and what other types of scenarios would this work? And so I get that one. He was sick of being a landlord, right? He got his wife and kids, I think you mentioned. He just had enough of it. Boilers breaking, maintenance, tenant issues and all that. What other types of scenarios? Is the probates, divorces? What else is there? What else should you look out for if you're looking to do this?
Yeah, so it's all about the person. You're absolutely right. It's got nothing to do with the property. It's all about the person's situation.
Their situation, yeah.
Yeah, so another deal that I did is another property in central London. Basically, this guy contacted me and he was in £2,000 arrears to a secured loan. His mortgage was up to date, but he had a secured loan of £25,000 on this property. He was owing them about £2,000, and so they were going to repossess it next month. So I basically paid off for £2,000 and again, babysit his mortgage payments and took it on a 15-year lease option because he was just happy just to move on with his life. And he said at the time, I want kind of £50,000 kind of profit. So we did the deal. It was pretty much £250,000 property. And this was in 2013 that I did this deal. And that was what it was worth. He just had a secured loan on it. And so you kind of want to look for people that may be in financial difficulties. Maybe they're behind on their mortgage payments. I've also helped people who have had bad tenants. Their tenants have not paid them. And so they don't know how to maybe take them to court. So I have actually paid the person's mortgage, took the tenant to court on their behalf. And sometimes it takes 6 to 8 months to get them out. And so rather than lose their property, the bank kind of repossesses, sells it even cheaper. I'm giving them the price that they're happy with, making a win-win deal. Yeah, maybe they're moving abroad. I spoke to a lady in Greenwich and she was moving to America with her husband, her family. So she said, I've got 3 properties and I just don't want the hassle of dealing with them anymore. And so I said, why don't you deal with an estate agent? Oh, I don't like them. Okay, how are you going to sell? Well, I want to sell it to someone private like you. And how have you been getting on? Oh, they give me really low offers. Well, that's a good thing why people like working with me, because you can give them the full asking price. You can offer them a little bit more than what their property's worth. And not everyone will take it, because if someone just wants to sell their property to buy another property, what I do is not going to work. If they need money, another lady I spoke to had a property in North London. she said, I said, what's the main reason that you're selling your property? And she said, well, I need £20,000 for my business. I urgently need to raise that money. And I worked it out. She was earning that in a year. And I said to her, why don't you just wait a year? You don't understand, Laurence. I need the money now. And I said, well, what if I could give you the £20,000? All the profit then comes to me. Would you be happy with that? She said, yeah, sure. That's great. That's what I need. I need it now. Another person lost her job, this lady I talked to, and I basically said to her, look, as an investor, a cash-rich investor will want a discount on your property. Her property is worth £400,000. And I said, you know, most of the time, a lot of cash-rich investors will want a 25% discount, 20, 15%. It depends on, you know, who they are and what they're looking for. But that means that I can only make you an offer of £300,000. And I said to her, I don't think that's very fair, because you're going to lose £100,000. However, I could give you the full asking price, but you'll need to wait. But because you've lost your job, my advice to you would be to sell it through an estate agent, get the full asking price, and you can sell it now. And she said, you don't understand, Laurence, that doesn't work for me. And I couldn't understand that. And I said, but why not? Because the estate agent only earns their money on a commission basis once the property's sold.
Sale, yeah.
So you don't have to pay them anything upfront now. She said, I have no money. I don't have any food in my fridge. I've got nothing at all. But I don't have a mortgage on this property of £400,000. I said, well, just speak to a few estate agents. And she said, but I can't afford a lawyer. I can't afford to pay a solicitor £500. And I said, do you have any friends or family that maybe could help you, or neighbors? No, don't know anyone. And I said, how about speaking to an estate agent and just explaining that to them? And even if you pay them an extra 1% commission or something, I'm sure they would maybe consider that. Oh, yeah, I've tried that, don't do that. So I ended up offering her kind of that money to basically just kind of fund her legal fees. And I said to her, like, you know, obviously I'm an investor. What do you think would be fair to pay me back? I honestly thought she'd say double. You know what she said? She said, oh, I mean, I can't believe it. She was almost in tears. And she said, would you be okay if I gave you £20,000? And I said, not really. Oh, I'm sorry. How about 30,000? I said, no. I said, I think it's too much. I thought you would say double. I'm not greedy. But don't you have anyone else to help? No, but that's absolutely fine. So you can make deals happen even if it's not a lease option. You know, I do rent to rents as well. And it's amazing. I haven't heard anyone else teach this, but I'm able, on some of the rent to rents, negotiate with the property owner to not guarantee any rent. So I'm able to do that.
Yeah. I think just going back a step, I think what I'm getting from what you said there is it's not just about the price for these lease options, is that it's about finding something that the current owner needs outside of just the price, isn't it? And like you said, this isn't going to work if someone needs to sell that property to buy the next one. The home movers, that's not going to work. It's all of the other quirky situations, and there'll be countless, isn't there? Because everyone's situation is different. It's finding something that they need, and maybe it's money straight away, whether it's getting rid of hassle or stress, or just taking something off the plate, or yeah, I think it's just a different way of looking at it. And I think so many people, me included, probably when I spoke to this guy most recently, it made us think a bit different, and you're reiterating the same point. Just look at the different strategies when you're there, and it doesn't have to always be conventional, right? Yeah. It can be something completely off the wall and different, but it's a numbers game as well. The more people you speak to, like you mentioned, you spoke to people in different areas in the country to get the one in London where you wanted. Practice makes perfect, but it also makes permanent. Yeah. Practice makes permanent because you'll get it nailed. You'll get it spot on if you do enough of it. I think that's really interesting. Tell us about the rent to rent. What were you going to suggest there? So you did a rent to rent without guaranteeing the rent. How does that work?
Yeah, so basically, I was recommended to this property in Covent Garden. It was a 3-bedroom penthouse for £3,500 a month. Basically, the landlord said, look, I've been renting out for many, many years now, but you don't have to kind of pay me any guaranteed rent. And so there's ways to do that. I also kind of found a property in Westminster, and that was £1,500 a month rent, beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in a council block. And again, the lady kind of met all the different well-established letting agents, and offered it to me without guaranteeing any rent each month. So if I can't rent it out, I won't pay her. But we kind of like did a profit share. But I kind of like teach more about that and how to secure that. So that's a really great way of not kind of having to guarantee the rent money every single month if you have a large portfolio.
Okay, so it's some sort of JV with the owner's profit share type thing, but you're coaching and guiding her on whether you HMO it, whether you SA it, or whatever it may be, to get the uplift. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so I would actually, you're correct, rent it out as serviced accommodation. I would advertise it, put it on Airbnb, booking.com, all the different portals. I would have a cleaner professionally clean it. I take all the photographs, check in the guests, look after the guest emails. So I take care of all of that. But you've got a property here that I could potentially double or triple your rental income every single month. If you take a little risk. And if it doesn't work, we'll stop it. Or I could guarantee the rent.
And they couldn't do that without you. I think that's what a lot of people miss here is, you know, if you know what you're doing with property, most people, Mr. Joe Average and Mr. Public, they don't, because they haven't educated themselves, read books, done courses or whatever. If you go in with the right strategy and position it properly, you know, these people will do it. And so I think part of the problem is when you've educated yourself on property, you think, well, why would someone not just do it themselves? Why would someone let me do it for them? But if they don't know, that's why they'll do it, because you have the knowledge and they don't.
You're absolutely right, because you don't know what you don't know is so true. And I've been doing service accommodation since 2009 in London. Before it was like a trendy thing, or anyone else really was much doing it. So I'm able to kind of like get high occupancy rates, not just rent just to tourists, but even in the pandemic. When all the letting agents kind of closed and I actually wanted to rent a property, I was just too busy. I just wanted it kind of rented with a letting agent, which I've never really done before. They all closed. Sorry, we can't help you. It's all closed. Tenants can't go out and view properties. It's against the law. Yeah. But within 4 days, I rented a property without even showing it. So I even recorded that live, how I did that, in another kind of online training that I do called Rental Secrets. But one of my secrets, a lot of people say, but how do you get these deals? How are you able to kind of convince these people? So one of my biggest tips would be, is that I always, before every single call that I make, I imagine that I'm just about to talk to my mother or grandmother. So if you can kind of visualize or think that every person that you're speaking to your mother or grandmother, because I think to myself, if my mother or grandmother were in that position where they needed to desperately sell their property, I would hope that they would meet someone like me. So maybe that makes me want to care for them a lot more. And when I've done deals with a lot of people, I always ask them, can I just ask you, what was it about me that you wanted to work with or wanted to do this deal? Because I know you're speaking to other investors, and they said, yeah, because we felt with you, Laurence, that you genuinely cared about me. You didn't want to make a quick buck. You didn't want to take advantage of me. You were helping me in the best possible way. And another person earlier on this year, I spoke to a retired couple now who have a property in North London that they were selling. And I basically said how I work. They said, oh, I don't understand that. I'm quite traditional. We just want to sell it and not wait for a few years to do this. And I said, how long has it been on the market? And he said 6 months. And I said, why don't you think it's sold? And he said, well, it's quite old fashioned. We bought it 30 years ago and it's got an old carpet. It hasn't been painted or decorated for like 10 years. And it's got like avocado this and that. And just the colors are not maybe as up to date as they were fashionable back then in the 70s or whenever it was.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how much would it be just to paint it and put a new carpet? And he said, I don't know, maybe £1,000, £2,000. And I said, okay. And how much do you think the property will go up in value? And he said, probably £25,000. And I said, why would you not want to do that? He said, Laurence, I'm an old man. When you get to my age, you just can't be bothered. Me and my wife.
The hassle and stress today. Yeah, you're right.
The hassle, the stress. There's a tenant in, and we just rather sell it. And I said, how about if I paid £1,000 or £2,000 out of my own pocket and got it decorated and new carpet, and could I get that uplift in value? 25,000. You could still sell it with an estate agent. And he's like, wow, I've spoken to 8 other investors. No one said that. Yes, yeah, we would be very interested. Would you like to come around and meet me? And actually, now talking to you, I don't mind if you buy it in 2 or 3 years time, if you wanted to. So it's just, and he said at the end, you feel like almost a friend than some, you know, cash rich investor in a suit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think what I'm taking from what you said there is you come across. I'm looking at you. You're softly spoken. I think you come across as trustworthy, and you know, people do judge you. People do judge you on the way that you look, the way that you speak, and your body language, right? And when you go into these houses and speaking to these people, I think they will pick that up from you. You know, you come across like you've got integrity, morals, you do the right thing. And unfortunately, there's a lot of investors who are probably the polar opposite of that, who just come across very, very differently to that. All about money. They'll try and squeeze people. They'll try and, you know, screw people over just to make a few quid. I think that says a lot. You know, I'm in sales. My main business is sales. we've got over 100 self-employed sales staff across the businesses. And I teach my staff a lot on this. It's a people buy people. 1,000,000%. And if you conduct yourself with your body language, your tone of voice, the way you dress, the way you act, and the way you speak, if they like you, they'll buy. Even if another investor give them a better deal than what you're proposing, you know, they might come to you. They probably will come to you over someone else because they're like you, as in Laurence, as you in the person, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, it comes down to that.
People buy people, and that's you can clearly do that. You do come across as really, really trustworthy and transparent, and I think that comes just from speaking to you. You know, you can tell that. But yes, so just going back a step. So I know we could go on to loads, and you've clearly got loads of stories to tell, but we're just conscious of time. I want to try and extract a couple of gems. So give us maybe one more sort of career highlight in that middle part. We talked about the start, how you got into it. We've talked about some creative deals already. Before we go on to some other questions, what about some career highlights? You've been in property a while. So when was your first one, just to confirm? 2001?
2004.
2004 was your first purchase. Has there been any big purchases, or do you just do your vanilla stuff and in volume, or do you do bigger stuff, developments, conversions, what else is it that you do?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur now for 19 years, been my own boss, property mentor, investor as well. So I kind of started off by buying kind of buy-to-lets the traditional way. Then started to get it into lease options, which is the no money down deals, agreeing a price kind of today, but paying them in the future without a mortgage deposit, just babysitting their payments. And then I started to scale up by doing more deals, which were kind of like more rent to rent, because I could kind of rent out a property and advertise it as serviced accommodation. So I would just again approach landlords, just be totally transparent with them and say, look, I really like your property, but just to let you know, it's not for me. I will be the tenant and rent it from you, but would you allow me just to sublet it out? And I'll rent it on Airbnb, a serviced accommodation. And it doesn't matter if it's empty or full, I will still pay you the rent that you want every month. The good thing why most landlords like working with me is because I'm not actually a tenant. So if I lose my job, you know, you're not going to get paid your rent. But with me, it's a company let. So you're always going to get paid. We professionally clean your property and just give them the benefits of it. So that's kind of like a highlight for me going into that area, learning about serviced accommodation, because I was able to, for example, property bought in King's Cross the traditional way, it would at the time have rented for about £1,000 a month, just to a normal tenant. But I was averaging about £3,000 a month on that one property. The mortgage was only £500, just simply renting it out to tourists, holiday makers, to people coming to London, you know, for a few months, contractors as well, business people that didn't want to sign a 6-month lease.
Yeah, there's definitely a market for that. I've just recently entered that space last year, and yeah, it surprised me. Yeah, the amount of profit you make on an SA compared to a buy-to-let is 4 or 5 times. It can't be. It's quite a big difference. So just on the rent to SA stuff, then what does that portfolio look like? Have you been doing that in volume for quite a few years?
Yeah, so I really kind of started in 2009, kind of with the first one that I turned as a former tour guide. I kind of thought, you know what, this is close to King's Cross Station, it's close to Oxford Street, you can get a bus there to London Zoo and Camden. So let me just try it out for 3 months. I thought if it doesn't work, I'll just rent it the normal way. I didn't know what I was doing. I advertised different places, even Gumtree and Airbnb, booking.com, and just gave it a go. And then slowly by surely kind of kept increasing my price, £50 a night to £75 a night, £100 a night, up and up and up. So yeah, I have a large portfolio kind of that. I think other career highlights for me is for 23 years, I've, as a hobby, been going to sporting events. So I love going to kind of sold out concerts, sporting events, but I always get a face value ticket, or a ticket for less money and sometimes for free. And it's so amazing. It's so magical. Even for the Olympics in London in 2012, a guy gave me a £725 ticket for free to see Usain Bolt win his second gold medal. Mo Farah, that's the greatest event I ever saw.
So how did you do that then?
So I actually created like an online system. It's called Tickets on Demand. And basically, it shows you step by step what you need to do to get these tickets, to protect you, never getting scammed, because you have to be careful online and in person of buying a fake ticket. I teach you how to kind of prevent, obviously, getting scammed, where to kind of like look for these tickets, how to get them actually on the day of the event. So that's kind of like what I've done. Even you see me make videos with getting to Les Miserables for a box of chocolates. Even with the book, I went to Shepherd's Bush, I think Apollo, to a Queen Extravaganza concert, and I thought, let me film today with a book, and so I got a free ticket for this book. Just getting in, filmed live. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And so anyone can do it. And my greatest moment was helping a father and a son go to see Arsenal against Man United at the Emirates Stadium. Little boy, 8 years old, Tom, always remember him, and his father, JB. And basically, I went up to them and said, are you looking for tickets? I could see that they were totally sold out. This is the 1st of January, 2020. And I said, can I just teach you and show you how you can get 2 face value tickets? They didn't believe me, but they trusted enough. And I said, just let's try it out. You know, I know I can help you. And they got 2 tickets for £45 each. Tom did it himself, the 8-year-old little boy. So if he can do it, anyone can. And we filmed it live. It's amazing.
So you're clearly passionate about teaching people your methods of things, I think. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my father was a teacher. So I think I
all right, okay. I was at the back, the connection. Oh, that's good. Okay. So what about currently then? So where are you at right now, and what is your attention on? Is it still on property, by the way? Are you still actively in property?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so I've created this online training called zerotopropertyhero.com. And that's where I took 4 students like Karen and Dawn, Barbara and Richard, and I trained them on Zoom for 12 weeks, 1 hour a week, and showing people in real time them succeeding. So Dawn is a lady in her 40s. She's a single mum in London. And she was going through chemotherapy at the time. And she said, look, I have a son who's in his 20s and I don't have any assets to leave him. I always want to have my own property. I'm tired of paying rent to a landlord. So within 12 weeks, she found a 2-bedroom flat in East London worth £270,000. And that makes a £900 profit every single month. It's absolutely incredible. And she found that kind of on the training and how I helped her. And so that's what I'm kind of on a passion and a mission right now to help, you know, many people quit their jobs in 6 months and scale and start a property business to 6 figures, doing no money down deals, lease option deals, service accommodation, rent to rents, and just teaching them in their area in the UK and worldwide.
Okay, sounds good. What else are you looking at the moment? Because I know you've got a few different businesses. So you do books, you've got your portfolio, your coaching, and mentoring people. What else is it that you do out of interest?
Yeah, so I'm actually a really shy guy. I'm an introvert by nature. I prefer my own company. I'm probably a bit of a loner. Don't even like the sound of my own voice. So I keep myself. And so for many years, I have always been scared of networking. I find it so difficult to go up to a stranger and just talk. You know, when we're talking like this, no problem on the phone, no problem in person, no problem. But it's just finding that courage to go up to a stranger. And I don't know if it's the rejection. And even though we're at networking events and no one's really likely to reject you, I don't know, it's a mental thing perhaps. And so for many years, I used to go to all these different conferences, business events, networking events, and I would come home with no business cards. And I think, what a waste. There's 100 people, thousands of people. And I could have met so many wonderful, interesting people. And the only business cards I collected, if someone comes up to me or we sit next to each other, oh, hello, what do you do? And you exchange business cards. So I created the ultimate business card, I feel, which is $1 million business card. And no one ever throw this away. This is incredible. So if you're watching this on YouTube, watch this, because I'm actually showing it to the screen. Isn't that incredible, Terry? Have you seen anything quite like that?
What was it? A million, what was it? Sorry.
$1 million. This is my business card. Yeah. Can you imagine?
That's the actual business card?
Yeah, that's my business card. All my contact information is on the back.
Is it the same like weight as a card, or is it more as an actual note?
Yeah, it's the same.
One note, yeah.
As a kind of a dollar bill. And so when people get that, I've never felt so much love in all my life. People hug me, they kiss me. They're like, can I get another one, please? From my mother, my father, my son, my daughter, my husband, my wife. Can I get another one? And I have people that have kept it in their wallets. It's amazing. So create the ultimate business card. And I have figured out a way. Every time I came back from these networking events, I kind of kept asking myself, how can I network without talking to anyone? So I've discovered and created like an online training called Networking Secrets, where I show people in real time that I go to these events, I stand in a corner of the room, and can you imagine the whole audience comes up to me and I don't say a word. It's what I do, and anyone can do it. And it works so well, Terry, that at least 3 of the event organizers on camera have asked me to leave, because all the audience is giving me their business cards, and they're like, sorry, so what are you doing? I said, I'm just networking. You're telling us on stage your network is your net worth. And that's what I'm doing. I'm an action taker. Well, you're doing it too well, so you can't do that here. Why not? Do you not believe in what you teach on stage? I'm no harm to you. I'm not a salesman. I have nothing to sell, but I'm shy. I don't like.
Who threw you out? Which networking event is it, or do you not want to say?
I don't think I can. But they're very, very well known. They're very well known, and they teach a lot. Education. You know, and they preach that your network is your net worth. But yet they don't like me networking that way. It's strange. But people around me say, oh, leave him alone. He's not doing any harm. This is an amazing idea. Well, I'm going to do it next time. So it's just really thinking outside the box, always asking yourself, I'm a problem solver, I guess, in life. So I kind of come up, you know, with different challenges and overcome them. How can I overcome them?
That's what I'm really picking up from you and just speaking to you. I think you just think a little bit differently to a lot of people maybe, and you maybe challenge, you go against the grain, you go against the conventional methods and a lot of things that you do, not just in property, but you mentioned the networking, the creative strategies, moving to London, even you do things against maybe. Have you always been a little bit like that throughout your life? Have you went sort of against what other people have said or said that you should do? Have you always sort of went against people or authority?
I think so, because growing up, just seeing my mum have no money, have many different jobs, you know, my grandmother in the 1980s, you know, all her life she couldn't afford a washing machine. She washed her clothes in the sink. She never went on any holidays. My grandmother never even owned a television. She rented a television because she couldn't afford it. And I saw this kind of old lady as a pensioner who went through the Second World War, who then had nothing to show for her life. And I thought, it's just not fair. You know, and how come some people are rich and some people are not? And so I was always determined to kind of maybe find the right mentor, read the right books, get the right education, because life is short. And I want to achieve so much. But how do you do that? And how do you not get stuck in that job? So I've never felt comfortable kind of in work. I never really wanted to get comfortable. One of the first jobs I ever had kind of was working in a bank in London. And was speaking to a guy who was in his 50s. I was just in my early 20s at the time, and he said, oh, don't be like me, Laurence. This is only meant to be a summer job. I've been here for 30 years and I never even go home at night. And I haven't even married. I haven't found anyone. I haven't had family, because all my life I've dedicated to my work. And I thought, it's quite sad, you know.
No, it is sad. Yeah, I agree with that. And without getting too deep, like there's so many people who are just in that rat race and they're stuck and they just think they can't get out. They think they can't buy property. You just mentioned some ways that you can without any capital. You know, they think they can't ever change. They think they just, it's almost as just going through the motions until the end that we all are going to face, which is death. Like ultimately, we're all going to die, as horrible as that sounds. But so yeah, I know that's a very deep thing to say, but it's right, isn't it? And it is sad, like you say. So many people are stuck in this rut. So people are listening, watching. It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter what you've done previously. You can turn it around, and it's not too late either. For sure.
Absolutely. Like one of my recent members, one of my recent students, she's so inspirational. She's a lady in her 70s, Sarah.
70s. Wow.
And she is so inspirational. And she has gone through so much in life and basically said, look, you know, even though I should have been retired, I'm still working. And I want to retire. I don't want to keep working. She's got 2 jobs. And she said, could you just please help me? Could you help teach me? I want someone like you that can hold my hand and help guide me of how I can do these property deals. I'm too scared to do it by myself. I don't know. I've gone on different courses. So I'm helping her. She'll be a big success. So watch this space for her.
Fair play. 70 years old. Fair play. Fair play, man. Cool. Well, thank you for that. I wanted to ask specifically around the lease options, but I think we've covered that, to be fair. I think you've covered sort of how to do it, what to say, and the types of people that this type of deal would work for. I think that's great. We've covered the networking. What's your preferred strategy right now? So just before that, actually, is it only London you invest in, or do you invest elsewhere in the country?
Yeah, me personally, I do. I have invested in other places. I'm also talking to a guy at the moment, one of my students in Bali. And he's
all right.
20, he's found, thanks to kind of like what I've taught him, he's found 20 villas in Bali and they're no money down. So we're talking to the owner who, before the pandemic, he was earning £4,500 pounds profit per month from these. The pandemic's really kind of hit him, and he basically just doesn't want these properties. So it's just how you talk to people. So we're doing a joint venture there. But yeah, if the deal is right, then I'm quite open.
Do it anywhere. So that was just leading on to, what is your preferred strategy and what would you advise other people? Am I getting it's more SA stuff? The service accommodation, is that kind of your preferred strategy and what you would advise others to do, or?
No, my preferred strategy is doing the creative financing, so the no money down property deals.
Lease option stuff, yeah, okay.
With those no money down property deals, you're building wealth. So you actually control a property that you don't currently own, but you have a right to buy it at some point in the future. And when I first started, I thought, well, £300,000, what if I can't get a mortgage for that? £500,000, £1 million? Like, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict my future. What if something happens and I'm not able to buy it? That's the beautiful thing, that you don't have to buy it. You have a right to buy it, not an obligation. And also you can actually sell it with an estate agent, which is what I've done with
an uplift, yeah.
And benefit from that uplift. If it's gone up a few £100,000, that's money that you will get, a property that you never actually bought. It's amazing.
Love that. Yeah, again, I think it's probably it's not talked about as much as other strategies, is it? You know, the lease options. And I think that's probably, you in the agreement, it's probably because a lot of people don't understand them fully and kind of prejudge them. I think that's not going to work. Is that kind of a fair comment about them?
It is. And when I first started to learn that, unfortunately, I thought the same thing. It sounds too good to be true.
Well, yeah, I did too.
You know, and then I also, from the mentors that I learned from at the time, said, well, Laurence, you can't do this in London. Why not? Because they were all doing them up north in different parts of England. They said, well, in London, then people are more savvy. And, you know, this is what they would tell me. I don't believe that. And you just can't do it. I've never done a deal at all in London. And I thought, yeah, but that's you. It's not me. So it's just having the right mindset. It doesn't matter what anyone else tells you. Just believe in yourself. And also sometimes not share kind of your goals and dreams with others, even loved ones. I've had, you know, my mother and my father tell me it can't be done, or I'm aiming too high. So sometimes you just want to be careful who you share your dreams with, even with partners as well. You know, you don't.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. You you know, the quickest way to kill a big dream is to tell a small-minded person, isn't it? And someone who doesn't know any different.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against those people. They just don't know what you're capable of or what else is out there, because their limiting beliefs are here. If you want to achieve this, they don't think that's possible. But whatever you think is possible, there's people who have achieved more than that.
Yeah.
So if they can do it, you can do it too, right?
Exactly.
No, I love that. I think that's a great point. Just last couple of things. So the show's called The Rags to Riches Show. So what does being rich mean to you? Because you can be rich in loads of different areas of your life. But what does being rich mean to you?
It's just having the freedom. Like, I don't have an alarm clock. I wake up whenever I want to wake up.
Few people have said that to us, you know. A few people have said that to us. I'm still getting up with an alarm, but sorry, go on.
Yeah, so it's just beautiful. Like, I go to bed whenever I want. You know, sometimes I go to bed at you know, very early hours of the morning, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 a.m. in the morning. Then I go to bed. And then I wake up, you know, when it's almost evening time or in the afternoon. And also kind of like the health and the mindset as well. I think it's very important. It's much more than money, I think, financially, although that really, really helps. But it's just kind of having peace of mind, being content and happy with who you are. And it's taken me many, many years to look in the mirror, and still I'm a work in progress. But it's just yeah, having the freedom to go do anything that you want and not having to look at the price of a menu or when you go shopping, which is what I always used to do. and even in, you know, I remember taking my mum to a very, very nice restaurant in London, I think called Le Gavroche. Sorry, I'm not saying it right, probably, in Mayfair. I think it's by Michel Roux. That's his restaurant.
All right, yeah. I've heard of him.
For many, many years, and it's just stunning. One of the best restaurants I've ever been to. And you know, when it's expensive, because then they don't even have the prices on the menu. and so my mother couldn't see the prices on the menu, and she ordered all the most expensive things. And then when the bill came, she was like, oh, I should have ordered something cheaper. What? Why? I'm paying. Don't worry about it. So it's just, yeah, being able to treat the loved ones and people that you care about. And yeah, like if I want to go, like I have friends who call me and say, oh, are you free today? Do you want to, you know, go to a park or something? And I can just do that and drop everything.
That's good. Yeah, man, it's all about freedom, isn't it? And doing what you want, because you only get one go at this, don't you? So you might as well. So love that. Thank you, Laurence. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, if anyone wants to follow you, what is the best way? Are you on all social media? What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, I am. I mainly use Facebook. So find me at Laurence Lameche on Facebook. I've got like a private page and a business page. I don't use that much, so the private one will probably be better.
Okay.
Although I'm kind of, I think, reaching my limit, although I don't know most of the people on there. But yeah, just probably that's the best route, I think.
Okay, Facebook. Okay, cool. Well, Laurence, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your story and stuff today, and I appreciate your time. So thanks a lot, and have a nice rest of your day.
Very welcome, Terry. Oh, actually, can I just say also for all your listeners,
yeah, of course,
as well, I'm very happy to actually give away a free copy of this book called How I Bought 3 London Properties for a Football Ticket. So if you reach out to me and you say that you heard me on your podcast, then I'll very happily give away a free copy of that book. And also, I'm happy to give you a free 30-minute strategy call session to see maybe if I could help you in property or not. It's totally free. And yeah, I'd love to kind of offer that to people listening.
Right. No, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I'm sure that I didn't know you were going to do that, by the way. It wasn't a plug intentionally, but no, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I'm sure some people might take you up on that. So thanks a lot, Laurence. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time again.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks, mate.